It's been a year and a half since the release of the Razer Blade 14 2015 and 6 months since I purchased it. I made a review in November of 2016, giving my general impressions and performance of the laptop. Here, I will be discussing performance in games, editing software, and what it's like to use it after 6 months of using this as my daily driver. Making a return, the Razer Blade 14 2015. This video is going to be a second review after a period of 6 months of use and how it could stand up to current devices released in 2016, and talking about how it performs in the year of 2017. Let's begin. The chassis is built with black anodized aluminum, which at first glance is beautiful to look at and feels very smooth to the touch. Build quality is still a big strong point. On the top of the laptop, we have a backlit Razer logo with 2 indents beside it to adorn it. On the bottom, we have the rubber feet, which hold a very strong grip on any smooth surface, along with 10 screws to hold the aluminum backplate covering the internals, and 2 fans that spin very loud when the machine is under load. I have a black leather skin from D-Brand adorning the laptop, which also protects it from scratches and dirt. I will leave a link in the description to their website, as they offer skins for many different devices. The hinge allows the top lid to be lifted with just 1 finger, with no wobbling or difficulties with a gentle lift. One of the things that stood out to me the most was the screen. This laptop comes equipped with a 3200 by 1800 IGZO panel with great color reproduction. It's beautiful in every way. Port selection for this machine is great, except for fewer flaws. On the right, we have a Kensington lock, 1 HDMI port, and a USB 3.0 port. On the left, there is power in, 2 USB 3.0 ports, and an audio jack. What's really missing here for me is an SD card slot, and it's still missing from even the latest Razer Blade 14. Because of this, I'm forced to use an adapter. The one I chose for it is this one from Juiced Systems, which gives me 2 more USB 3.0 ports, mini USB, full and micro SD card slots. I will be linking this below. The keyboard is my favorite laptop keyboard because of the nice tactile bump when pressing each button. There's nothing slowing me down when typing, with very few errors, and the green backlight has grown on me a lot. I still love it. Complementing the keyboard is a very nice glass trackpad that is very smooth and precise, being very comfortable to use. The 2 buttons below it were something I wasn't too fond of at first. They feel cheap, sound cheap, but I am used to them by now. The speakers sound tinny out of the box, but with some tweaking in the settings, I was able to get them to sound louder without any noticeable distortion. I'd definitely say the audio is fair, coming from a 14-inch laptop. Webcam is 1080p, giving you a pretty good picture quality, and it has a surprisingly good microphone. The recording you're listening to is from the Razer Blade 14's built-in microphone. Now, even with the 2015 version of the Razer Blade 14, we are still getting very good specs. It comes with an Intel Core i7 processor, 4720HQ, quad-core with 2.6 GHz, 16GB of DDR3 RAM, NVIDIA GeForce GTX 970M GPU with 3GB of VRAM, and a 256GB solid-state drive. These are pretty serious specs for the work I do, which involves lots of video editing and some gaming. Now first, let's talk about what it's like to game on this machine. I went ahead and played 5 different games for about 30 minutes a session to see if I could notice any frequent frame dips. All of these games were played on 1080p. In Overwatch, I was getting a steady 60 frames per second on high settings, though I did keep it locked at 60 FPS. These settings did not allow for any frame dips, even while having everyone in the game centered in one place. It was a very smooth experience. With Paragon, I still kept the settings at high, locked at 60 FPS for the most part, keeping both resolution and 3D resolution at 1080p because of it being a more graphically demanding game. It would give me 60 frames per second all throughout, even during intensive moments of the game, but there was noticeable tearing near the bottom of the screen. Still pretty smooth, but I'd recommend reducing the settings to medium, just in case. Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor was a different story. At medium settings and FPS locked to 60, I had a very smooth experience, even when being attacked by a horde of enemies. I was impressed with how well the game ran, while still looking reasonably appealing. Good experience. With Doom, I locked the FPS to 60. At medium settings, the game ran buttery smooth, without really feeling like I compromised on the looks. After this test, I decided to increase a few settings to high, and it still ran very smooth, but it would have the rather rare stutter occasionally. Still very playable. I wanted to try Blade and Soul for testing, and the game has definitely grown on me. When I play on the Blade 14, I set most settings to 3, otherwise known as medium, and some in ultra or high. The game ran pretty well, except for the noticeable diagonal screen tearing that was rather frequent when playing it. It still ran well, but the screen tear isn't pleasant. When getting into the media editing side of things is when this machine gets to flex its muscles the most. Performance in Adobe Premiere was great, very smooth when scrubbing through the timeline while editing video in 1080p. Was able to add plenty of effects with no slowing down. To get the smoothest experience, I turned on Mercury GPU support to utilize the CUDA cores from the GTX 970M. Highly recommended. Performance in After Effects was very smooth as well, thanks to the CUDA core support, which helped with rendering and layering effects when working alongside Adobe Premiere Pro. When combining these two, you can create very good media. I just started learning how to use it, but because of this, any videos I make will be able to benefit from better effects. For exports, I use Adobe Media Encoder. Normally, with 6 to 7 minute projects from Adobe Premiere Pro, export times range from 10 to 15 minutes, which is fine for me. With a 10-minute video or so, however, expect more like 20 minutes. Using this laptop, even 6 months of continuous abuse is still a treat. It's snappy, smooth, and incredibly light for the powerful hardware that sustains it. No slowdowns as of yet. Traveling with it is fine, at 4.4 pounds. It's easy to carry around with battery life that I personally have adjusted to, as for the most part the laptop is plugged in anyways. As for the setup, I have updated the setup for the laptop as I have moved on from using my iPhone SE as my main camera and am now dealing with SD cards. For a mouse, I used a Razer Roki. Personal preference because I always take advantage of the Razer Synapse, with Razer hardware working very well when paired up. Plus, it's small so it's very easy to transport, and it works wired and wirelessly. I use a Seagate 1TB USB 3.0 external hard drive for mass data storage. As for the camera, I upgraded it to a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema, which is what I'm recording this review with, which now means I need to use an SD card. That's when this handy adapter from Juice Systems comes in, supplying me with micro USB, 2 USB 3.0 ports, full and micro SD card slots. Loving it so far. If you would like to see a review of any of the stuff from this setup, make sure to drop a like and even comment on what you would like to see reviewed. The Blade 14 received mostly compliments earlier. Now it's time to beat on it. The fans get very loud. They don't suffer from coil whine, but they do get very loud. Here's a recording while leaving Overwatch running. This is mostly disturbing when you're doing something intensive on your machine and the fans cramp up this way. I recommend headphones. Everything about the machine feels very premium except for the buttons. They feel very cheap and sound tinny. And lastly, the battery life. I have gotten used to it, and for the most part, it stays plugged in anyway. But for others who rely heavily on battery life, 3 to 4 hours might not be so suitable for you. So do keep this in mind. Now that I've finished complaining, it's time to conclude this video and give my final thoughts on this specific model. There are better options out there such as the new Razer Blade 14 with a Skylake processor and GTX 1060, not to mention a Thunderbolt 3 support. And for a machine with an integrated SD card slot, there's also the XPS 15. But if you aren't in need of the absolute best performance, then this is a great option because even now, it doesn't feel like I'm making any compromises. It's light, powerful, beautiful, and it is still a great product even in the new 2017. So despite any of the cons, everything leads to a recommendation because this is truly a powerhouse, still worthy of use for gaming or content creation. For links to everything featured in this video, you'll find them all in the description. For more content, make sure to subscribe to our channel for future tech reviews like this one. This has been Francisco from Tech Summit. Thank you for watching, and I will be seeing you all next time. Enjoy.